Hey and welcome to the Hearthstone Half Hour. I'm Hammy and this is Falcraftcast. Hope you're well and good. We are going to be going for today's New Player Monday into a half-hour summary, deck investigation, a little bit of an introduction, a bit of a guide to a Control Hunter by none other than the splendid person that is Beyonds. So you can see this if you're on YouTube. Check the link in the description. Go have a look at the list there. If you're on Twitch, I've also stuck in the chat, so come and take a look there too. Right, without further ado, Control Hunter. You can see Freezing Trap, you can see Steamwheedle Sniper. There are nice toys for hunters in Goblins versus Gnomes, Hearthstone's first full-on expansion. Lots of things that let you pull beasts more quickly, a few more control options. So this deck is looking to go back to a Control Hunter type, sort of in the first few seasons of Hearthstone. There were rush hunters and there was sort of a more control hunter before the whole advent of mid-range. I say back in the day, it was about 3/4 of a year ago. How time flies. So this deck is not undertaking, it's not Deathrattle minioning in the early game with lots of 1s and 2 drops, it's not rushing to the face, but what it is trying to do is balance dealing damage with controlling the opponent's board, controlling the opponent's minions and table, so that in the mid to mid-late game you can throw in on your big minions and then win. So control deck is a control deck. Some control decks might try and win a little bit earlier. A control warrior, for example, will push and win a bunch in the late game. But this swings, it's kind of 5, 6, 7 mana. There's lots of things going off there that can do a nice job. So let's run through this deck list of Options and let's see how it can work in that fashion. And then we're going to do what we always do after running through it card by card. We're going to take it, in this case, onto the ladder, taking it easy this season, bumming around at about rank 12, 11 or so at the moment, so we can see some reasonably competitive games and decks without it being hugely top level play, but not being so random as sort of brand new players as often start in the ladder, and fair play to them at rank 25 or so. So what do we have? Well, we've got Arcane Shot for starters. Arcane Shots, you're not going to be seeing that in huge amounts of rushy Deathrattle decks, but what do we use it for? We use it for control, 2 damage. You can buff that to 3 damage, of course, with a drop to microphone. My apologies for that. But you can buff that for the additional damage with Azure Drake, so that would be very nice indeed. And then, of course, you can also be using that to soften up things in the late game. Don't forget that we've got some explosive traps in as well. So there's some good opportunities for pressure there. Next up, we've got Web Spinner. Pretty universal in terms of hunter decks. Whether you're triggering Deathrattles with undertakers, of course, we're not running those. But adding the random beast to hand does give the option of putting some nice pressure on the table, so you're certainly going to be able to put some pressure on your opponent using that. And of course trading in the early game, and then in other places also used for triggering, of course, kill commands. Now you will notice in this deck we have no kill commands, more about that in a bit. 1 explosive trap popping in there. Against aggro decks, anything with low health, you're going to want to get out your explosives. So there's the usual as a hunter, am I fishing freezing, am I fishing explosive, do I just need some kind of secret if I'm facing aggro? And as we'll talk about later, this deck may struggle a tad against your bog standard aggro deck, so this is not a universal laddering deck. You may find that you need to make some changes to this in a very aggressive, rush heavy metagame sort of set of decks that you might be playing against. So do not take it as gospel. It will not be fantastic against everything, but as with any deck, you can make tweaks to it. Feign Death. We've looked at Feign Deathrattle hunters, we've looked at pure Deathrattle hunters without Feign Death, lots of different hunter combos. It's worth having one in this deck as sort of a tech card. It's situational, but you've got Web Spinner, you can get 2 beasts. Mad Scientist, you can get a secret, keep Mad Scientist on the table. Do not forget the Piloted Shredders, 2 of those. Of course, you can summon a random 2-cost minion on the Deathrattle for that. Sludge Belchers, of course, you can get another 1/2 tank. And then Sylvannas, obviously a very nice combo because you can steal an extra minion before Sylvannas dies. And then Dr. Boom's Boombots, don't forget, you can trigger that for some additional damage from those. Random 1 to 4 damage to a random minion indeed. So very nice there. It's worth having a Feign Death. When you play that, Feign Death will depend very much on what deck you're playing, and of course a bit of luck of the draw. Important thing with Feign Death, you shouldn't be too worried about playing it early if you need it. You might be trying to save it for a Sylvannas, you might be trying to save it for a Savannah Highmane. Why not play it on a Savannah Highmane and get an additional 2 2 attack, 2 health hyenas. That's wonderful. But if you're dead by that point, then saving the Feign Death is not worth it. So sometimes you might just want to get an additional secret out with your Mad Scientist, and that will help you survive the early game against a rush deck or against something putting tremendous pressure on you real early. So don't worry about that too much, but we'll see when Feign Death comes in useful. Next up down, we've got Azure Drake. Well, triple threat, sings, dances, acts. It has the spell damage, it draws a card, 4/4 body, means it will do some damage, trade a minion, and then don't forget that it buffs up Arcane Shot, as well as multi-shot and similar. Coming through our Feign Death, Freezing Trap. Good against big minion decks. The swing of tempo, if you've got big hand locks or people throwing big minions against you, you want to engineer it so those big minions get thrown back to hand and you have enough time to win, of course. Also buffs your Eaglehorn Bow, +1 for any secrets. Owl will get you past tanks, it will also remove nasty card texts, and it's just cool. Mad Scientist, drawing your secrets, making trades in the early game, so basically you get not only the secret for free when it dies unless it's silenced, but then you get a 2/2 minion trade potentially as well. Then Steamwheedle Sniper, interesting card, new with Goblins versus Gnomes, and the hero text for this, your hero power can target minions. It's basically sort of almost a mini Orkanai Soul Priest, as priests use, but we can target our 2 damage, and whether if you get that turn 1 or turn 2, you can very quickly start pinging away at minions. It's quite awkward to remove at that stage of the game. Don't necessarily wait until turn 4 when you can play it and then use the hero power. You may just want to play this turn 2 or turn 1 with a coin if you really have to, for example, to trade against minions in a rush deck. So again, Steamwheedle Sniper, very much like Feign Death. Don't save the Feign Death too late. Don't save that Steamwheedle Sniper too late. It is in there as much for trading as it is for the hero power, but the hero power is very powerful if you do get it away. Eaglehorn Bow, a staple of many a hunter. You can be using that to swing into your opponent's minions, get the table under control, use your hero's health as a resource. It's Fury Win-Axe, as people like to call it. It's the hunter's equivalent of a warrior. Axe, 3 attack, 2 durability, but of course you also get that fabulous if you have a secret down, you can get additional durability on top of it, and it can keep swinging and swinging for a little bit longer. You can also hit the face if you're close, get that damage in, get yourself down to lethal, and another 3 damage on top of your 2 hero power. Very nice indeed. Animal Companion, I just love this card. It's just such good value. You're going to get something random, but generally speaking, whether you're getting a 4/2 Hogger, whether you're getting a 2/4 Leok with the attack buff, or whether you're getting a Misha, the 4 attack, 4 health tank, any of those are pretty much going to help your game in some way or another, particularly if you play them turn 3 or turn 2 if you have a coin. Very strong cards for that stage in the game. But Game Hunter for removal. You could run a Deadly Shots, but against aggressive decks, as our deck guider points out, this is a 4 attack, 2 health body, so you can always trade it for a minion if you really need. And Big Game Hunter, of course, 7 attack or above, you can be punching away big minions. A multi-shot, this is, it can be a game changer if you grab it at the right time against druids with Shade of Naxxramas, things that are invisible, things that are cloaked, things that are stealthed. You can punch through, you can grab a couple of your enemy minions, and of course don't forget that our multi-shot friend here can also be buffed by Azure Drake. You could be doing 4 damage to 2 random minions, and that can start clearing the board, punching through tanks and similar. Piloted Shredder, very nice indeed. Good with Feign Death, of course, and then just 4 attack, 3 health, and with the Deathrattle of summoning that 2-cost minion. I've got some evil 2-cost minions out of a Piloted Shredder. I've got some bad ones, but the important thing is that you're getting additional mana value for your cards. You're getting a very nice 2-for-1 trade. We've already covered the Azure Drake, the Belcher, nice mid-game tank. Whether it's aggressive decks or control decks, they really have to work to punch through that unless they've got silences readily available. Really will slow your opponent down, good for helping you get your control and winning plays set up. Always a Feign Death option. Sylvannas High Mains, 6 attack, 5 health. You get the 2/2 hyenas when it dies if it's not silenced with that Deathrattle. Feign Death can of course trigger those as well, and lots of pressure you can put on too. So these will, if you've got tempo, if you've got a card advantage, if you've got minion advantage on the table, Sylvannas High Main will get you further ahead very nicely, just creating more and more threats for your opponent. Sylvannas, what can we say about Lady Windrunner? Well, she steals enemy minions. If you throw out a Feign Death on top of her, she's going to be really nicking at another minion as well as the minion she will nick when she dies. 2 for the price of 1 value on that Deathrattle. Very, very nice indeed. You shouldn't, as we've said, just save the Feign Death for her, but if you have both at the same time and your opponent has big minions on the table, you're going to be making them rather sad indeed. Then you have your finishers. Boom. Remember the 2 boom bots that can be Feign Deathed because they have a Deathrattle. Boom is the 7/7. He's just great for tempo because the boom bots help put additional pressure on and force your opponent to start thinking about where the damage is going to go. Last but not least, Ragnaros. Good for burst damage, or you can snipe something big from your opponent if you throw them down as well. So that's always going to cause some pressure. Other cards, you could drop Sneed Shredder in, Blood Mage Thalmos. Thalmos has spell damage, helps you draw the card. You could throw it in for an owl, you could throw it in for a sniper. It will help you with additional pressure in the early game very, very nicely. So that is our goal. If we take a quick look at the mana curve, we've summed up that deck and we know what tools we have. You can see that we've got a lot in the early to mid game, bit of a swathe of cards at that 2-3 mana point. We've got 14 cards dropping in a couple of turns potentially, but they're not all going to go down at the same time. So right, that is our deck. Let us then jump into a couple of games and see how we come out. So in we go to some play. And control pops up. Righty-ho. So as we've just sort of passed on, this will have a little bit of trouble against the aggro decks. If we're playing a lot of aggro, we need to start tweaking in various forms.
You asked for it.
Okay, we are playing a mage. So if we're playing a mage, I would probably think we need Steamwheedle, Arcane Shot, Web Spinner, Mad Scientist, Eaglehorn Bow. One big owl against Azuma. We've got Eaglehorn, we've got the Steamwheedle Sniper. I'm going to trade back the Sylvannas Highmane. I would quite like an Arcane Shot or a Web Spinner, they'd be quite nice. So I'm going to keep the bow and the sniper. If I get an animal companion, then that would be most excellent. Okie dokie. In comes turn 1. So nothing to see from opponents so far. Do I want to be coining into the Steamwheedle? It's very, very vulnerable. Coining into an animal companion on turn 3 is ridiculous. So I'm actually going to wait because I think that an animal companion on turn 2 with that coin is very nice. Down goes a Snow Chugger. I can coin into an Eaglehorn, just get that removed, but I'll also be frozen, or I can risk the animal companion. I'm actually just going to remove this. An animal companion on turn 3. Now I am frozen, of course I'm not going to be able to swing next turn, but animal companion turn 3 into a Steamwheedle and a hero power on turn 4 feels pretty nice. If my opponent throws down another Snow Chugger, that's really going to be slowing down nicely. Down goes a Harvest Golem. This is probably going to be a Mech Mage. So I think animal companion. And in comes a Hogger. I'm just going to charge straight to the face for that, probably in the knowledge that my opponent, unless they have a Frostbolt, will happily trade away their Harvest Golem for that. I can then swing in with my Eaglehorn Bow. We're going to be turn 4. I can actually even throw down a Steamwheedle Sniper and target. Oh, down goes a Goblin Blast. Am I going to survive? No, I'm not. Very fortunate by my opponent there, hanging on in. So that's not so great. A little bit of a challenge. I can punch through this. I can punch through that. I think I can
target acquired.
Put this down. I'm going to go for. Don't really want to take the 5. I don't have a huge choice. My opponent's not going to be able to trade this straight off. I now have my Steamwheedle Sniper, another in hand. Azure Drake will help me bridge in, or I can Eaglehorn Bow into a steady shot. Down goes a Spider Tank. Drops it to a 2. We'll then see the trade there. The table very sadly. And I think really it's just Sludge Belcher time. Need that to be warmed itself a little bit. Set up again. Okie dokie. Fireballing comes. Solid removal. probably going to see a trade down here. Right, going to see a spider tank flying in comes a mech warper. And as you can see, this is the rush example. What do we need here? Well, we could have done with a mad scientist. We're not done, but we certainly could have done with some additional pressure. So out comes a Steamwheedle. That will help me with some trades, but I'm not going to be able to remove that off the table. The mech warper is dangerous. The Azure Drake will let me draw and bridge. It depends whether I want to go for full on aggro to the face. I'm going to throw down the Azure Drake. This is freezing trap. Okay, good. We could have done with an explosive trap earlier in the game. We could have done with Mad Scientist. That would have helped us. So this is probably a tough matchup for us. Aggression-wise, we did get some reasonable cards in the game. Our opponent's drawing well. We managed to grab out an unstable portal there as well. We have no idea, of course, what means coming in. Oh, in comes a Wind Speaker. Shaman card, why not? Wind Furying, Spider Tank. And then Jeeves is going to coming in to recharge my opponent's hand. So this, I think, was probably going to be the game. Very sad. Now, can I do enough control to get this all sorted? Well, I need to remove that. 7 damage left to go. I do not think I'm going to be able to remove enough. My opponent could have a fireball, for example. Azure Drake's not going to help us here. Well, we need to do some careful control.
Target acquired.
Steamwheedling. I need to remove the Wind Fury. No choice about that. I guess. Now, pretty much swings in one. Freezing Trap will return one of those to hand. There is enough damage. He should lead with Jeeves first. Attack-wise, because he doesn't need Jeeves, there will probably be enough for my opponent to get finished off here. So, we can but risk. And this is a good example of where if you're playing a very, very aggro-heavy environment, you're going to want to make some tweaks. So, if we're getting swarmed by aggro in the next 2 or 3 games that we play, we'll probably try and make a tweak or two and see how we can change things up a little bit to give us a bit more of an advantage. In comes interesting. Actually swings in with the 2 damage there. Still has enough damage on the table. Still has the 7. So we will tap on the table and say, well played.
Well fought.
Would have had to swing in with the Wind Fury. Wind Speaker first. So that is Mech on the field. Had a reasonably good draw to start with. Mech Mage has got a lot of pressure in the early game. It's still going to be part draw though. What cards could we have dropped in to make that a little bit different? So another explosive trap that would have helped. Mind Control Tech probably would have come out too late, and Unleash the Hounds would have certainly been quite handy. Could have dropped a big Game Hunter, so basically
watch your back.
we had a decent start, I would say, but perhaps if you see a lot of aggro, then what have we got? A rogue, very interesting. So what rogues are bouncing around at the moment? I'm going to assume that it's a mech aggressive rogue. I'm going to set myself up for early game. Keep the arcane shot, trade away the big cards. It's probably a safe. Okay, so Web's going to turn 1, feels pretty solid. We'll see what our opponent's got in stock.
Mine.
The pleasure is mine.
Greetings, traveler.
Nice polite greetings. Rigilin asks in chat, have you considered running some of Hunter's higher cost removal like Explosive Shot? That is absolutely an option. We have one multi-shot in here. Multi-shot, of course, would have been very useful as well. And there are some other options that we could have thrown in. So Explosive Shot could be considered. Right, turn 2. So at the moment, nothing from opponent so far. And I know this is not an ideal first turn. Probably going to keep that Freezing Trap in hand for the time being, just to see what comes out of this rogue. In comes a Damage Mastery. We're probably just going to see a straight up removal of that Web Spinner. Our opponent, of course, has not seen anything like this. I could assume we're playing a normal Direwolf Alpha. Quite happy with that kind of beast. Steamwheedle Sniper, well at risk of getting removed. Arcane Shots, I don't mind throwing this down too much. I've got 2 of those in deck. It's a big target, juicy target for my opponent to throw some removal on. so I don't mind baiting out a bit of removal with it. In comes a coin, 4 attack, 3 health. Maybe we're going to see a deadly poison. No. In comes the HSHH agent, and we've seen him use up the combo removal on really removing the card from the deck. So I'm not too disappointed by that. Animal Companion feels like a nice solid play. Arcane Shot could do some pressure. Freezing would return that to his hand. I don't really want to return that to my opponent's hand because they can just combo it again, even though it's going to cost 2 more. In comes a Hogger. Huffer. Hogger, of course, the scourge of many a lower level alliance player in World of Warcraft. Huffer, a charging 4/2 boar. Slight difference. Nice solid removal. In comes a piloted shredder, so our rogue has got options aplenty. Now, this is a situation where I'm actually going to be quite happy throwing down one of these. Direwolf Alpha. Notice, could have double arcane shot. This is off the table. I'm actually going to be quite happy returning that to hand. So, opponent's choice. Now, if you see a setup like this against you and you're playing against the Hunter Secret, there you go. First things first, pick it back to hand. That slowed that whole process down by turn. I should be able to get my own shredder down, unless my opponent has 2 shredders in hand. Down comes a Mech Walker, lowering the cost. Out comes an Arcane Nullifier, and that is a nasty drop indeed. Got Mech Rogue, and the Nullifier, of course, it's got Fairy Dragon style. Your hero power can target minions, can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. Yes, the things I would have been using to punch through this, and now I'm not going to be punching through this quite so much. I'm actually going to get hyper aggro. Now, reasons for that. Well, the shredder is going to cost 2 more. He can just play that shredder this turn if he wants, or if they want. But I didn't really want it costing 1 less. Because we're seeing a Mech Rogue coming. Might have been too aggressive with those 2 arcane shots. But what we can certainly see is whether my opponent was going to be throwing down the down goes the shredder. It's cost the whole 6. And we can set ourselves up nicely for a little trade. So first things first, we can throw in the Direwolf Beta. That gives us the 5/3. Punch that out of the way. And then quite happy to put in a Mad Scientist. Do I want to Steamwheedle Sniper? I don't at this point in time. If I throw down my Mad Scientist, Steamwheedle Sniper I can always throw down next go. We're probably going to see just a direct trade, but the Steamwheedle Sniper going down next go with the hero power should let me pressure through.
We hunger for vengeance.
Ooh, and in comes a Divine Minibot. I'm very happy with that. In comes a Freezing Trap again, throwing that poor Shredder back to hand again. What has that Shredder got to do to get a break? And in comes a Dagger Master. We're probably going to see a straight up trade there, possibly followed by a backstab. Yep, 3 damage to 9 damage to me. So opponent going for heavy control, minions to throw out some big finishes. However, let's not rest on our laurels because I do also. Now here is the rub. Do I want to Steamwheedle and sacrifice the Sludge Belcher play? Or do I want to go for the Steamwheedle? I'm going to risk the Steamwheedle and the removal. I suddenly see a big bunch of threats at the table. Maybe the Sludge Belcher would have been the better pressure play. My opponent could waste some removal on this second Steamwheedle Sniper, and that should let me grab control. Down goes Loathhead. I've got my spells. Mech Walker comes in, any small mechs. And comes an Annoyatron. Very nice indeed by my opponent. They managed to stabilise the table very nicely. However, I have Sylvannas Windrunner waiting to enter from the wings. So, decisions. I'm going to take the 1. Pick that away with the 2. Sylvannas, remember we've got 1 Feign Death in our deck as well. So Sylvannas with a Feign Death here could swing everything into a permanent game for us. Imagine if we could steal some of these minions, that would be very nice indeed. Loatheb will punch through this. It all depends on what my opponent's got in hand. His minions can remove the Sludge Belcher, no problem. That leaves my Steamwheedle Sniper wide open, which is a shame, because after this trade, Loatheb is going to be on 2 health. Precisely the amount of hero power. I imagine my opponent will have something to remove the Steamwheedle Sniper. I'm thinking of a Deadly Poison Fan of Knives reduces it by 1. Very nicely done. And that means the opponent can move using the hero. The 2 trade comes in with the Mechwalker. And down goes a trade prince. Gallirex all things. Whenever the opponent casts a spell, grant a copy. A surprising card, that. So options, decisions. There's nothing for me to big game hunt. Boom will certainly help swing things back in my favour. If I throw down Sylvannas and Deathrattle and start stealing minions, that's going to cause trouble as well. But Boom is probably the card that's going to give me the biggest opportunity to get control of the table. So pressure my opponent down. I'm on 28 health, they're on 11. We need to start hitting them to the face as much as we can. And of course, remember, we've got Ragnarok. If we can feign death on top of Sylvannas, steal some of these big minions, that should hopefully get us victory. So opponent now, unless they have control or removal, then what they need to be doing is trade down to the Neutron, so it locks things up.
Come close.
Nine Sensei, giving another mech plus 2/2. And then goes a Pilot Shredder, full on table now from the opponent. So this is the situation where we've not pressured our opponent down, and their mech deck is well back in the lane. There we go. That's one removed, certainly. And Trade Prince is going now. I hope we can remove the Sensei. Just the 1 damage to the Sensei. 1 damage to the face. So that's going to be buffing things and buffing things. Evil Horn Bow, we cannot punch through right now, which is a tad on the frustrating side. I can take 3 damage to the face, that's fine. Sylvannas, I can't big game anything.
No time for games.
So let's punch through that. Punch through that. We're threatening lethal. Can my opponent do 24 in 1 turn? Well, they certainly have 11-12 on the deck. Or they need to trade those 2 minions out the way. Now, in a normaler or a more standard hunter deck, we would of course be looking to pressure through with things like Kill Command and Beasts. In this deck, we need to be making sure that we pressure through with our minions. So how's our opponent going to make trades here? They know that when Sylvannas dies, something is going to get stolen. In situations like this, and doubly so if we top deck that Feign Death, can spin a game, very much like Freezing Trap can also spin a game. When people discuss tempo, taking the tempo will give us that card advantage. In comes the 4 damage. Oh, and if that had hit Dr. Boom, our opponent would have been laughing. As it was, the 50-50 RNG went in our favour. Trade Prince, direct trade for that. Not giving me option, the biggest option. Gonna go for the face. Nothing can directly kill me unless he decides to. So what could I steal? Well, really I quite like the Piloted Shredder. Straight for the trade. I might get an Explosive Sheep out of things. Instead I get the Iron Sensei that's going to let me make some trades. I get another Bomb Lobber which removes the Iron Sensei. And my opponent can still finish us off at this point in time. We are not home and dry by any means. We're getting chipped away at piece by piece. So what I'm going to do is throw this on the table. Just pretty much say, right, okay. I'm going to throw those down. I'm going to need to trade them away. And I can do 5 next turn. Remember those arcane shots I used 2 of earlier in the game. If I'd just saved but 1 of those or 2, this game would have already been over. So here comes an Eviscerate, straight up removal. Down goes a Ragnaros the Firelord. And people in chat on Twitch saying this poor rogue, it might well be this poor hunter. We're going to take 8. And the question is, can our next card do 1? No. The Feign Death is moments too late. So there you go. If we had drawn that Feign Death a little bit earlier, we would have been fine. So, an unlucky loss there. We were so close. As you can see. That wasn't really an aggro deck. Maybe a couple of better plays we could have made. I think that using the 2 arcane shots, that was the difference. We were very aggressive in removing that minion. So let's play this poor hunter. Chat's opinion live swiftly revises towards hunter sympathies rather than rogue sympathies. So let's play one more game with this current version, and then if we're still struggling against aggro, let's make a few deck changes to finish off the episode and see how this can make a little bit of difference.
Let the hunt begin.
Okay, so I'm still going to expect aggro. So I'm going to trade back the freezing. Could have kept that. Definitely going to keep the Steamwheedle. Remember, if we're assuming aggro, then we want to be seeing if we can get things like arcane shots, web spinners, mad scientists, eaglehorn bows, and what we do not have is any of those things, but we've got the Steamwheedle sniper. Turns out I top deck the freezing trap anyway, so quite happy with that. Right, let us see if we are playing a handlock. If we're playing, ooh, okay, well, a mulligan first turn could indicate a handlock. I'm going to throw down, Steamwheedle could encourage some removal. There's nothing for me to trade yet. Do I want to risk? I'm going to play for aggro, although given that nothing has hit the table turn 1, I would very much ponder if this is a handlock. Handlock will be an interesting matchup for us because, again, we need to get the damage in, but we've got the removal in place as well, hopefully to deal with handlock in the late game. We've got our freezings, we've got our big game hunter, life tap. Okay, so we're assuming now this is going to be a handlock, a late game warlock of some description, possibly even a demon warlock. So freezing trap is fine, but I probably prefer to drop that on the table. My opponent has got some bigger minions. Remember, the more I reduce my opponent's health, in the case of handlock, the more chance there is of a molten giant hitting the table early. So naturally, I'm not necessarily looking to rush my opponent down. My opponent wants a full hand, and they also want to be able to drop. Ooh, down comes a 2-mana drop, could be a dark bomb. Yep, there we go. We'll see a straight up removal on my Steamwheedle sniper. Sadly for them, we have more options. So I'm going to throw down a mad scientist because I wouldn't mind an explosive. I've still got the freezing. Steamwheedle sniper could just put more pressure on. Turn 5, I certainly want to be playing a Belcher. So I'm going to put the Steamwheedle sniper down, they've got more minions on the table for more pressure. Plus I've got that 2 from the steady shot potentially as well. Sacrifice the mad scientist if I wish. That is probably going to, well, it's a 50-50 between the explosive and the freezing that we have in our deck. Life tap, okay, our opponent is struggling. We may not get in for the kill on this turn, but down goes a Watcher. So we know next turn my opponent's going to be looking for the niceness that is either a Silence to get that attacking, or Sunfree Protector, or Defender of Argus. That's what will be coming. So a Belcher will really solidify our table position here. We've got the big game hunter in hand. We may see a Molten Giant at the table here as well, of course. Remember, we've got the big game hunter, so whether it's a Mountain Giant, less mana cost for every card that you have in your hand, or a Molten Giant, less mana cost for every damage your hero has taken. We expect there is the Mountain Giant, Sunfree Protector, put up the tanks, and we're going to have 2 tanks in the way. So the question is now, can we deal with that? If so, we can win. So big game will remove.
I've got the beast in my sights.
Sort of play. Giant removal. Can we remove this for as little as possible? We can, using the Eaglehorn bow. So I'm going to do that. Remember, of course, oh, hang on, the steady shot could have also been an option. I'm going to go with the Eaglehorn bow now, started to finish. Ooh, may have made a tad of a mistake here. I'm going to punch that out of the way because we still need additional damage on the Occupant. In comes this, in comes this. Let's our opponent on 2. So opponent has to, of course, now play a healing card, but they also need to tank 2. So we should have got ourselves into a win position. So, Control Hunter, of course, you can see this, as we've said, we've struggled a bit against a couple of more aggressive decks, even though that the mech rogue that we played last game did come out a little bit late. Or, of course, you can see where we really come into our own a little bit more against these late game decks. I'm hoping that hero power can... Yeah, there we go, cancel the minions. But we hit to the face. We've done enough damage by turn 7, but when Handlock's cards come out, it's no longer relevant. So that's a nice example of how this deck against in a handlocky, controlling or late game deck metagame can do really, really nicely. We've got enough pressure in the early game, and we can grab the game by the scruff of the neck in the mid game. Right, let's give one final game for this half-hour investigation. There or thereabouts, of course. See what we grab. Ooh, a rogue again.
Versus Valera.
Could be a mech rogue, but
Watch
we learnt from our mech rogue last time we should expect
Let the
the
hunt
aggressive and the early.
begin.
Freezing trap is probably not what we want. We're going to have to go. We're going first again, so let's go for a full mulligan and hope that we come across our aggro-ish control type cards. And with a web spinner and an eagle horn bow, and then a sludge belcher as a blocker, we've certainly got some protection, if not the perfect hand, then certainly a decent one. Nothing to complain about here. There's a web spinner turn 1. And nothing wrong with that. I'm going to throw down into a mad scientist. Can always eagle horn bow as well. Turn 3. We can always start putting pressure on. Nothing wrong with putting on pressure on our weak spaces here as possible. So we just see a straight up control of that. Let's see if we can use beast worth throwing in the table. Jungle Panther. They could be a lot worse. And actually, I don't mind too much throwing down our Panther now and pressuring a little bit further. Can't be removed, it's 4 damage on the table, unless my opponent somehow gets a buffed fan of knives or similar. It'll be a little bit tough to remove.
Pay attention,
nice
class.
We're quite happy with that.
I am ready to learn.
Great up removal with a backstab, and now we see our opponent's hand coming to the fore, and they are playing a token deck. They're going to be throwing spells, trying to get buffs on those Violet Apprentices. How do we stop them? Well, for Violet Shredders and making trades will certainly help us out a whole bunch. My opponent will look to remove this next turn if at all possible. An Eagle Horn Bow will certainly let me start getting to work on the minions and similar. I think I'm going to try for Piloted Shredder play. Do I want to attack to the face, or do I want to save it for trading this off the table? My opponent will, with all their might, try and remove this next game. I'm going to wait, because I forgot I had the freezing trap in hand. My opponent, if they have sense, will try and attack the Violet Apprentice first, and that will get pinged back to hand. Okay, there was an argument for me throwing down the Eagle Horn by removing this, because I already had the freezing trap, and hoping my opponent would get their Violet Teacher pinged back to hand. So maybe a slight misplay there. Opponents, remember, if you're playing against a hunter and trap wise, you're always going to be, even if it's a misdirect, you're probably going to be leading just a new weapon. Maybe we're going to see a deadly poison. Of course, the deadly poison is going to ping another little minion. In comes the hero control. And what do we get? Ah, Trogzor. Excellent. A very nice 2-drop there. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, get one. And my opponent correctly playing against the traps there. Only having a 0 mana minion and still 2 points. So I now have the option of trading 3 damage to 2 minions. I can just multi-shot them away. However, that would be perhaps a little bit of a mana waste. What I can do now is throw these down. Do I save this for a lethal, or do I sort of, my opponent can remove that in 1. There's probably something in my opponent's hand that's going to let that get removed. I'm actually don't mind too much. Okay, I think let's go for the pressure option. Could have left that Jungle Panther there for a little bit more of an ominous threat, but then every turn you leave it, you're just risking a buffed blade flow or something. So down goes a Violet Apprentice for 2 mana. Struggling plays, but that triggers the combo, so 7 agent can remove. My multi-shot should, unless I remove 2 of those, get a bit of value here, I'm hoping. Feign Death, very nice indeed. So I can start feigning death all over the show in the next couple of turns. Now, Piloted Shredder would certainly bring the table back to me. Multi-shot does have a challenge of perhaps not removing exactly what I want. So I'm going to the interest of things. I'm going to Piloted Shredder. Okay, Feign Death here. And then we get another beast on the table. So could have got some more value. Could have got more tanks with the Sludge Belcher the next turn perhaps. But don't want to leave that too late. Multi-shot against these would be a bit of a waste. If I can trade these, ideally I want to be pressuring to face. If I can then get multi-shot on something a bit more damaging, a little bit more nasty, that would be a bit better for us. So note that my opponent has eaten away at my health a little bit there. In comes a prep spell costing 3 less, so something's going to be going for 3 or thereabouts. Blade Flurry, Stabula, Control, and down comes a Direwolf Alpha, the friend of Direwolf Better, and I pretty much 3 table and then a Belcher as well. So the multi-shot is not going to be helping. Okay, I'm not too worried. I'm going to be setting up trays and removal. Get rid of that. Multi-shot can remove 2 minions afterwards. That'll be nice indeed. Your Drake, that's not going to totally let me clear the table, but let's note that my opponent is losing. I'm going to have a couple of blows to the face. We're now on even health, so the protection of that Such Belcher could have been quite handy, rather than the aggression of this play. And even if I remove 2, that's still going to be there for 4 next turn to my face. Interesting, decides not to swing. So the Mad Scientist will give me exceedingly good value, which I'd quite like. The multi-shot will give me some protection, but I think we're going to go with a Belcher. I can just 2 damage to the face. Do I keep the pressure on, or do I try and set myself up for better plays using the Mad Scientist? Of course, if my opponent punches through this, we could be getting very close to death and close to danger. I'm going to... It's the safe, it's the too safe play. Almost. Maybe too safe. And in this stage, remember, we've got a lot of nobody cares, says, oh, why are you hiding your rank? I'm not ashamed of it at all. I'm ranked 12 at the moment. I was originally just... Yeah, I know that some people play and show the other people's usernames. I just sort of keep the usernames hidden. But I'm quite happy to show mine and my rank now. I may continue to hide the opponent's username. Just a privacy thing, really. Okay, opponent throwing down. Thanos +1 spell damage. Eviscerate could be nasty after that. Fan of Knives, 3 more minions and draw. So at least I get my secret. That is explosive. Oh yes. Okay, could be an attack one of my opponents before throwing in the Azure Drake. We go face 2 to all. Solid clearance of the table. In comes the jack. Already then. So multi-shot. Cometh the hour. Cometh the card. Super multi-shot saves the day. 7. We've got 2 damage with explosive. 2 with our spell. 4 with the hyenas, but I'm guessing they're going to be removed by something. Oh, a sprint. Going for it, absolutely. Okay, floating cards above. The typing down as the fast air is storing 3, so our opponent's in it for another turn. Backstabs and removal, so we are not done just yet. We'll not count chickens before they hatch in the future. So Savannah Highman really throws us into pressure. Sludge Belcher helps us go for the more secure, protective option. I am going to be going for the throat. Remove my Savannah Highmane, or see what we can do. So, this will be our last game for this this YouTube episode, but we'll stream on a bit afterwards. If you're on Twitch, don't go away. So, as a little wrap up, what we've seen here is a bit of a control hunter. We've seen how it can struggle a bit against various kinds of aggro, but there are cards that you can sub in for those. Consider removing Big Game Hunter, Sylvannas Windrunner and similar. Maybe look at dropping in another explosive trap. That would be very nice. Also take a look at other cards that you could throw in, like Unleash the Hounds is a very solid option. Wanted Creeper will do some good trades in the early game as well. And as originally mentioned also, you could look at other kinds of hunter removal. How about Hunter's Marks and similar. As our opponent drops down. They're on a 6 health trip. 5 mana out of 10. Are we going to see a removal? We're going to see a shiv. There's a sap. Sapping this. Farseer restores to 9. Okay. So what have we got now? Steamwheedle Sniper. I can target minions, but that's not going to help. The big game hunter is not going to do everything after Steamwheedle.
Target acquired.
Mash my opponent through the face. Leave them 1. Can they heal? Can they punch through that Sludge Belcher? Probably not. We've also then taken a look at this against Handlock. We've got a nice good start and seen how it can work quite well in that situation. And then finishing up against a different kind of rogue. We were looking at a token rogue this time rather than the mech rogue that came against us so strongly in the mid to late game.
I wonder.
Double sprint, drawing another 4 cards. And many Earthen Ring Farseers doing many shamanic rituals, but alas, I don't think quite enough healing's going to have been done. Viscerate does 5, next punch through, and let's just hang on a cod and pick 10 damage on the table from the opponent there. Just a 7 damage. Deadly Poison is going to honourable Harry Kiri there. So thank you so much for tuning in, whether you've been live with us on twitch.tv/Feldcraftcast, whether you've been tuning on YouTube. Do join us again in future. You can catch us if you're on YouTube, come join us. You can see in the left, twitch.tv/Feldcraftcast. We try and go live 5 nights a week at roughly those times, all over the world. But we will always tweet on at Feldcraftcasts on Twitter when we're going to be going live in as much notice every day as possible, so why not follow us there on Twitter as well. Do throw a subscribe or see what you think. youtube.com/Feldcraftcasts. It's got over 169 now episodes of our Hearthstone half hour there or thereabouts. Sometimes it runs a little long depending on what we're doing. Lots of Hearthstone goodness there for you, fun stuff, more deck runs and introductions, not necessarily guides depending on how well we're playing, but certainly an intro, a new player friendly one, and correcting our mistakes as we go along. Last but not least, the website is feldcraft.org. All of our blogs and videos there, plus a few more bits as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're live, do not go away. We may do a little bit more streaming on with silent streaming. If you're on YouTube, hopefully see you soon. Do like, comment, share, let us know what you think.